Hello, everybody. We're sitting down with 11th year head coach Carolyn Zimmerman. Welcome back, Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
Give us a brief overview of last year's team. It looked as though you guys had the right pieces of the puzzle after defending the 2010 conference championship, but the team never really found its rhythm, did it?
You know, Mike, it was a unique year in 2011. It was the first time that our Fullerton women had to be accustomed to that previous 2010 championship year. So it was some new shoes to fill, a tremendous amount of pressure in the sense that we set the bar, we raised the bar, we shattered history and records, and it was a little bit of an uncomfortable position, but really in a sense, I mean, no different than some of the things that we had to embrace in 2010. But I think for us in 2011, the things that we had to take a look at were how could we utilize our personnel and really maximize them in the lineup, given the losses that occurred with just, downright graduation from 2010. I mean, we had lost quite a few scorers, and we lost Tori Brown that spring. So that was significant. You figure we lost our three top scorers in the lineup from 2010, and we had to figure out, where were we going to move those chess pieces? So the spring before, we have Kayla Nito learning how to be a six rotation player, primary passer, defender, and swing outside, when the two previous years, first team all conference, middle blocker. That was something that she had to get comfortable with. Then we have a freshman libero coming in, not going to be Cami Croto, not going to be anyone else. No one, everybody is unique, and we just, wanted her to bring it. Hey, this is what the team needs. And because of injury, that really wasn't able to really ever happen for her. So after going through preseason and trying to figure out what would work for us, because obviously we're looking at certain milestones and different ways of developing, we kind of had to X that out. I mean, Gabby Dewberry, she debuted at the libero position against San Diego State. That was our last match of our preseason before we got into Big West play. So there was a lot of things that were still uncertain. Kayla was still getting her groove and her confidence. But the thing we knew about Kayla was she was used to the pressure and she was used to scoring. And that mentality was probably the most important piece. And we had to figure out creative ways to really make it work. It helped that we had, Reagan on the team still, and she was a great leader for us and really brought a calm to the floor. But, I think that with the pressures of what we did in 2010, it was really tough to get comfortable and always see that it was still a process, but we all wanted to win, we wanted to win every time, and there might have been a few too many peaks and valleys. But I think that I had a greater appreciation for 2011 once the season was over. When you look at the loss of personnel from 2010, the pieces of the puzzle that we had to move around, when you look at straight personnel and the movement that happened, I think it was pretty impressive. And we're looking forward to building on that because we know that we've got a team full of really experienced players, very skillful. We're ahead of the game in the gym and some of the things. With just finishing our third session. I mean, most of the time we're a little bit delayed on some of the teamwork element and working more skill work. But because of some of those leaders and some of those veterans, we're able to kind of progress and take a better look of the pieces of the puzzle for this year and where we're going to move, the players to really complement what they can do.
Before we get into really this year's team, the conference had a bit of a facelift, and that might impact women's volleyball the most here in this conference from the get-go. University of Hawaii comes in and right away becomes the top dog. How does that affect you as a coach moving forward from a recruiting standpoint and then from a coaching standpoint as well?
Well, I think that it doesn't change anything in the sense that I still want to coach the best team. I still want to be the best. I think that, our goals are always to be the conference champions. We always are looking to finish in the top three in conference. Because what we do know is that the more successful the conference is, the more potential for some at-large bids. I mean, nobody wants to bank on that, but there is a real possibility. I think the addition of Hawaii is kind of like, our cousins are back home. This is where they belong. They've been in the Big West for many, many years prior to this, with a brief, a longer stint in another conference, but national champions in our conference years ago, and I think that's pretty awesome. And our current players, our coaches, our recruits, who doesn't want to go play in Hawaii? What a great opportunity for us and play great volleyball. So the addition of Hawaii just really boosts the level of volleyball in our conference. I think gives the Big West more respect. We've had some of the perennial powers kind of drop off a bit to where maybe they were in the 80s and 90s. And I think Hawaii brings a new look and kind of refreshes things. From a coaching standpoint, we're going to continue to do what we do. You know, our mentality, whether we're playing Hawaii, Davis, Riverside, it doesn't matter. We're going to play Titan volleyball. We understand, you know, playing a higher level opponent that there's obviously more threats on the court, and there's the ability for us potentially to play at a higher level because, you know, you kind of hope that it's easier to raise your level against a great team and your challenges against a team that's a little bit lower level that, you know, you just want to remain high level. But we know where that sometimes goes. So in recruiting, you know, the things that we're thinking about are recruit the best players that we possibly can. We're doing a lot of recruiting in California, but we're not complacent. You know, I'm not into settling. That's definitely a standard that I have, and we'll go out of state if need be. We know the size that we need to have on the roster to be competitive. Does that mean everything? No. Volleyball IQ is a tremendous plus and a definite asset. And, you know, I think Hawaii, do they make things more difficult than, you know, for us in recruiting? You know, maybe they make things more difficult for Long Beach in recruiting. I find that we come up against some different Pac-12 teams when we're recruiting some different kinds of players. So they recruit a different style. They take a lot of transfers, and, you know, those transfer students and whatnot are interested in what that program offers. Cal State Fullerton, I think, gives players a different kind of opportunity. We're still in the business of making history, and, you know, personally, you know, I like that a lot better.
Getting into the players from this year's team a little bit, Kayla Nito and Gabby Dewberry, returning seniors, they both tried out for the U.S. national team in the spring. From a coach's perspective, what does that experience that they had do for the players, and have you seen any changes in them as a result of their experience in Colorado?
Well, I wouldn't change it. You know, I wouldn't change it. I'm really glad that they went after that opportunity. I'm glad they accepted that offer for us to put them in a position to, you know, be very uncomfortable, go into an environment where you don't know anybody. And for Kayla, it was, she's a humble person as it is, but it's tremendously humbling just because of the whole issue of, you know, she's surrounded by players that are 6'2", 6'5", 6'6", and she's trying to be comfortable with that, you know. And for us, you know, the issue is, how does that translate to her coming back to us? You know, I think that she's a great leader. She's a great captain. She still has those qualities that I mentioned earlier. She's more comfortable in the outside hitting position. She had to figure out ways to still be good against the competition that she faced at the USA tryout. And for Gabby, you know, the same. It required a certain demeanor in the gym, a certain reaction to doing things well and mistakes. And I think there's, you know, Gabby puts a tremendous amount of pressure on herself to be great. And likewise, when she, you know, doesn't perform to the level that she expects, she can be highly disappointed. But I think that, you know, she's doing a nice job of just managing some of her failures and continuing to be a great leader for our team. Going into this season, both Kayla and Gabby are captains. I still think, despite the choices that were made for some of those girls that got offered an opportunity to play A2, Kayla and Gabby, you know, and definitely Gabby, you know, she got named to an alternate position that, you know, didn't come up available, but you know, we think they're great, and I think that that's what matters most, is that we believe in them. And as you guys know, some of those things can be very political, and those things you can't control. But for those kids, you know, it's great experience because, you know, whether it be another opportunity with USA, whether it be a job interview, whether it be a presentation in a class or approaching a professor, it all applies, you know. And I think they can translate that into, you know, some real world experiences.
One of your best athletes, you touched on this a little bit ago, Tori Brown missed the entire 2011 season with a knee injury. Tell us how she's doing, where she's at with her rehab, and what you're expecting from her in her final season as a Titan.
Well, we're thrilled to have Tori back. As you know, players have a choice as to whether or not they might want to go on, just as coaches have a choice as to whether or not they're going to offer them a fifth-year opportunity. Tori was tremendous for us in the previous seasons. She's really developed nicely in our program. You know, has the respect of the coaches here in the conference. For Tori, just as you said, you know, remarkable athlete. I've never seen anybody with the timing of her ACL repair, the surgery, come back and play a spring. That tells us a lot about the physical therapy here that we provide at Cal State Fullerton, the type of surgery that was performed by the physician, our athletic training staff, just unbelievable. And also their willingness to understand the psychological part. It was super important for Tori to get out there while she was nowhere near 100%, because July 1 was 1 year for her. Imagine she's playing in April and trying to do the best that she can, and she knows, she has a visual image of the type of player she is, and she's, you know, having to grind through understanding, hey, my jump isn't where it needs to be, I'm not having the fitness level that I'm accustomed to, but I'm going to go ahead and put myself out here because I need to get my mind right. And I thought Tori embraced that pretty well, probably the best that you could do. And having no previous experience with a player coming back and helping us during that time and helping herself, I couldn't have been more thrilled just with the fact that she put herself out there. You know, failure was, you know, probably the risk, and which means, you know, that she wouldn't have played as well as she was used to playing. But the upside is that she comes into two-a-days and she doesn't wear a knee brace anymore. She was cleared long ago from any kind of extra physical therapy. Now it's just maintenance, getting the fitness back, getting her jump back, and it's a process, you know. So we'll see where that goes. But her mind is right. The volleyball IQ is there. Her strength is there, not only lower but upper body, and she has a great memory of her ability to execute, especially in that 2010 season, which would have been her most recent competitive time.
Now, a big void that we haven't seen here in Fullerton in quite a while is a returning setter with reps under her belt coming back. Who's going to be taking hold of that setter's role in running the offense in 2012?
Sure. Well, Julie Consani ran the offense all spring. We were in a little bit of a situation having our libero, who was a freshman last year, kind of succumbed to injury. And we had to shift Gabby Dewberry into the libero role. Gabby was recruited as a backup setter or one of our setters, but also, as you know, a utility player. So it kind of is a double-edged sword sometimes when you're so gifted and able to do so many things. You know, you look at it, you go, you know, are those players really good at any one thing or pretty good at a lot of things? And I think Gabby, she's just, you know, unbelievable team player, but accepted the role of libero. It put us in a pinch in the depth in our setting position. So Consani handled it all spring. We were able to get an experienced transfer into the program, and she's acclimating nicely. And what we know is that when you have two in a position in the depth chart, just the very existence of somebody else makes you better. In the case of Consani and now our new setter, Calif, that's in the mix, you know, we're taking a look at the different types of roles that they would be playing. We know that Consani's got the best relationship with her hitters. We know that she's got the most experience with this team. We're open to things happening, but Consani knows what we want. Kaylin is coming from another program, and she's going to do the best that she can, and we're going to be patient with that, and we're going to understand that. But she also possesses some unbelievable defensive skills. I've seen her the last couple of days in passing, looking pretty strong. And so we're feeling like she might be able to fill a void for us in the right back defensive position as well. And, you know, it's always a great thing when you've got players that can do multiple things for you.
Now you have 4 incoming freshmen on this year's roster. Talk about their abilities and where they might fit into your plan this year.
Boy, that sounded like a big number. 4 incoming freshmen, woo! Well, you know, I think that we've got 2 freshmen that we believe that can help us immediately. You know, Holland Crenshaw was a player that we signed in the late signing period. I think that we're very fortunate to have her in our program. I tease her mom often that thank goodness that you moved out of the area, which allowed us to recruit her, because, when she was going to El Dorado High School, I couldn't get her on an unofficial visit, even when I said, I'm not even recruiting you, I'll just give you one to kind of just build your knowledge of what recruiting's about. So it worked out as a real positive. I mean, I know that we all believe things happen for a reason. So for Holland, it was a little bit different of a process, and I think it's ended up being a wonderful fit. I think she really appreciates the opportunity that she has at Cal State Fullerton. I think she's super comfortable having grown up in this area, and I think that that's really ended up being a plus. We'll be looking for Holland to help us out immediately, in that middle blocking position. She's got great size. She's got unbelievable wingspan. We haven't quite measured that out yet, but she's probably a little bit longer with that, that wingspan than she is tall. But she's, about 6'3" and takes up some good space. She's a hard worker. She's mentally tough. So we're looking forward to that. I want her to threaten that, starting lineup right away. And what do we know about freshmen? We know that it's definitely a process. It's going to take time. There's a lot of things that they don't know, they don't understand. Collegiate volleyball, what gym you play in, but they do know volleyball, and Holland's tremendously tough. Our other player that I think has a great opportunity to help us right away would be Lauren Kissel. She's a Tori Brown type athlete, tremendous jumper, definitely needs some refinement in some of her skills, but when you've got that pop and you've got that unbelievable athleticism, you want to find a spot on the court for those types of players. So for both Lauren, which we call her Kissel by her last name, she prefers that. Anyway, for both Kissel and Tori, we see that they have some abilities to option in different positions. So they kind of find their names listed in multiple depth charts, which the good thing about that is that you usually find yourself on the court. So it's going to be a matter of time. Day one was a little bit rough for Kissel. Day two is looking a lot better this morning. But we know what kind of athlete she is, and she's pretty exciting and takes some swings that people look at, defenders are looking at, and it hits the floor and they're thinking, that just can't be legal. How's that even possible? So, we're looking forward to her, cracking that lineup and figuring out ways to get the job done, to score, and move on from there, because as we know, going forward, she's going to have more responsibilities. It's going to grow. It's going to grow into this spring, and next year she's going to be looked at to be one of the top scorers. So we hope that she learns a lot from some of our veteran players this year. So we're couldn't be more happy about it.
And then finally, what about the role players? You got a handful of people returning that just kind of fit into certain spots. Talk
Sure.
about them and who are going to be your go-to role players.
Well, we're looking at a couple of people. We've, before we went into practice, we kind of talked about all of the personnel and what we saw and what we thought we needed. Usually every year, we're looking at needing a 3-rotation defensive player that usually fills a spot for either our 0-2 position or our right side. That's pretty much a given. We're also looking at the fact that we're probably going to need some help on the serve. So we might have to have an additional sub used for a serving specialist. So we're taking a look at a long list of girls, but right away, you're talking about Devin Ulmer helping us, which, as you know, she's tremendously courageous, coming out for us last season way late, missing double days and missing the whole first half of the season, but, coming in to help the Titans. She's coming back, she's looking better, more confident, really understands what we're looking for, and we're excited to see, how she's going to respond to that assignment. Brenna Segan, she's another one that's super powerful behind the end line. We're happy with what we see in terms of her progression on the jump topspin, and we think that, she might be able to serve a role for us, for maybe one of our middles. And it's pretty nice this year now that we've got 15 subs, so we're looking forward to that. We'll be able to kind of move some things around, but as most of our volleyball fans know, if you're going any deeper than 9, you're probably dysfunctional. So we hope we don't have to go that deep on the bench. We're looking at, who can legitimately help us. As I mentioned to you earlier, Calif, who on the roster appears to be a setter. She also possesses some superior defensive skills, some good passing so far, what I've seen. Her serve looks pretty strong. So I think that she's definitely going to help us. And who wouldn't want someone who's accustomed to playing that right back position, having been a setter, possibly locked into that spot. So we're going to see. We're going to see as time goes on, but we've got a good idea of who's got experience and who's ready to help us, especially on the short term. Our discussion when we talk about Big West play might be totally different. I'm sure it will be. We'll be a few weeks in, and shoot, that'll be mid-September. So I could have a whole new story. Hopefully not. I think we have a pretty good idea of the skill set of our personnel, and hopefully our preseason will be a nice progression of moving these players forward in the roles that we perceive them to be in, and that we're turning those opportunities into victories.
Well, with that, we'll give our thanks to head coach Carolyn Zimmerman. Good luck this season, Coach, and go get them.
Thank you.